Thank you, Philip, for this introduction and for giving me the opportunity to present here our food chemistry lab course. We'll give you a couple of starting info about our course. So we're going to talk about food chemistry laboratory course that I'm responsible for together with Professor Laura Nyström as the head of the lab of food biochemistry at the ETH. And this is a course in the food science bachelor's curriculum, which is quite early in the curriculum. So for most students, this is the first or one of their first lab experiences that they have. We had pre-COVID, we had 60 students in that course. We had to reduce this now to 40 students. And the goal is really to show them the most important analytical methods, quite basic methods in a wet chemistry lab. And the goal is also that students conduct the experiments as independently as possible in the lab. And so maybe some of you kind of ask, like, well, why am I here and presenting this in a blended learning setting presentation? Because if you think about a lab course, this was already since many years a blended learning setting, because you have the preparation that usually happens remotely. Students read a protocol, prepare for the experiment, they come to the lab, and then you have the face-to-face time, you do the experiments, and then they go home again and write the report, which is going to happen remotely again. So why and how did we start working on this course? And we actually did that 2016, so we did that pre-COVID. The thing is, what we realized actually when I took over this course is that students very often come unprepared to the lab. So they actually don't do this preparation phase, or many of them don't do it. So when they then come to the class, we wasted so much time of this precious face-to-face time with repeating things that are actually in the protocol, with explaining general lab rules, behavior. As said, for many of them, it's the first time they come to a wet chemistry lab, and really just for basic lab work discussion. So if you would look at the time distribution, I mean, this is really just a very rough guess from my side, but I would say we used 3/4 of the time just for basics, to explain them things, to repeat things, and so on. And we only had 1/4 for really advanced problems and discussions, which we actually wanted to put the focus on. So we decided that we have to change something. And now with the possibility to also contribute to this blended learning setting website that the LET created, we also actually wrote down this model, and I think you're now familiar a little bit, having seen these 3 models before. And you can see it's quite a long model. It's really going over the whole semester, and we have always the face-to-face is always the experiment in the lab, and then there's a preparation phase and a phase afterwards that follows the experiment, where students either work on a worksheet that guides them through the experiment and shows them how a scientific lab report actually looks like. And then later in the semester, they actually have to write lab reports, first with a peer review, and then the final report is kind of what we call an exam experiment. There, without the peer review, they really have to create and write this final report. But for the methods and tools, I would really like to focus more on the preparation phase. So there where we had the issues with the students, where they don't prepare or for the lab work. And what we did is we made quite a lot of videos, some more professionally. We worked with the IDMMS together, where we really filmed in the lab certain more general situations, like preparing solutions, how to work with an analytical balance, what glassware do we have available, what equipment is there, because we thought it's good if we have these made professionally, because we can use them really for many years. hopefully. And then we have more on a lower budget base own videos that we filmed, where we really filmed the experiments that the students do. And there the idea was, well, we're going to change experiments from year to year. I mean, not everything, but maybe one will be replaced. And so that's why we went there more for the low budget version. And we made these videos interactive. So with the interactive video suite that is available via Moodle, we inserted their questions. So students watch the video stops, and then they have to answer certain questions. Most of the time we use multiple choice questions, but you can also, there are different types of question types you can add. And so this is actually kind of the protocol that they read. They watch it now beforehand. And so they then come to the lab and do this experiment quite independently. I mean, of course, we have lab assistants there that can help, but they have seen what they have to do, and they then apply actually this acquired knowledge. Additionally to these interactive videos, we have virtual lab simulations that we use. We work there together with a company, it's called Labster. They have many different virtual simulations available. And these simulations we use for two goals mainly. One, they get to know methods or techniques that we're then going to use in the lab. So this kind of for some, it's the first time that they see it. Maybe they've seen it in a lecture before, but it's the first time they really have to apply it themselves, because these simulations are kind of like a video game that you are in the lab and you see your hand. I don't know if you can see this here in the picture, but this is actually your hand, and you have to tell it what do you need to do to continue with this experiment. Additionally, we have self-tests and quizzes. Everything is organized on Moodle. And as said, then for the writing, there's this instant lab reports, these worksheets, and the peer review process that we include. And I just would like to end with some experiences. So our experience now over the years is really that students come better prepared to the lab, to the face-to-face time, and we can really use this time more efficiently. And I would say the time is kind of flipped. So we still need to explain basics, and that's totally fine because it is one of the first lab courses that they do, but we have much more time to initiate discussions about chemical principles, about more advanced problems and discussions that we can do in the face-to-face time. And I mean, COVID, as said, we started with this before COVID, and then the pandemic came. And for us, I mean, that we had this setting already made it for us we were quite flexible. I think in our institute, we were the only lab course that was able to switch from in-class teaching to remote teaching. Of course, you cannot replace a lab situation in any type of virtual teaching, but still we had certain material available that we could give to students in this really difficult situation. And it made us really flexible. And this is also what I take out for the future. You never know what comes. I mean, we're happy to be back in the lab and do the experiments in the lab again with the students, but still we know that we have different tools available, we have different methods available, and we can adjust to any type of situation measure that will come in the future better than we had before. Of course, also something to mention, maybe some problems or issues we had is it really needs a clear course structure and communication with the students. You have seen the model, it's quite, I mean, complex. It contains, or it has different blocks. They also overlay sometimes, and students lose sometimes track on what they have to do until when, and where do I need to be, and when do I need to be in the lab. And so it's just a clear structure is needed. We do everything on Moodle, and I think over the years we established quite a good structure that students can follow. And then, of course, there's investment of resources. Making these videos takes time, but I think it's really worth doing it because you can reuse them also in the next years. And of course, also investment of money. The more professional videos were quite expensive, and also the licenses that we buy every year to use these Labsters virtual simulations, of course, also this is an investment, but I really see the advantages of using this. And that's why also we continue now post-COVID or whatever situation we are currently. And I just want to end this also with an acknowledgement, just because there are so many people involved in this. Of course, Laura Nystrom and also Sami Boulos, who did a lot on these inputs. Then many people were involved in making the videos, Nadia and Sabine, and then the teaching specialist, so the former teaching specialist, Sarah, who actually really initiated this thing, and now Katrin, that helps us a lot also continuing, and then from the LET, Pia, Pascal, Julia, and Philip, for all your inputs and all your help on constantly evolving the teaching that we do. And then many also gave us some money to actually work on this, and these are kind of the logos that you see below there. So thank you very much for your attention.